Look at this world. Most people see only walls, rules, and limits. But there was a boy in South Africa who saw something else. He saw code. His name was Elon, and while other kids were playing rugby, Elon was staring at the stars until his eyes hurt. He was a nerd, a massive one. He would swallow 2 encyclopedias a day. For him, books weren't just paper. They were maps to a different reality. But the world is often cruel to those who dream too loud. At school, they hated him for being smart. They bullied him. Once, they threw him down a flight of stairs so hard he ended up in a hospital. But you know what? While he lay there, he didn't think about revenge. He thought about engines. His mind was a rocket warming up in a rusty shed. At age 12, he did something most adults couldn't. He coded a video game, a real one, called Blastar, and he sold it for $500. Imagine that, a child holding money created entirely from his own mind. That was the moment Elon realized if you can program reality, you don't need to follow the rules. He realized South Africa was too small for him. He needed to be where the future was being built, America. He grabbed a suitcase, his few remaining dollars, and left. No guarantees, no return ticket, just a dream and a lot of arrogance. He started in a tiny office. He was so broke he couldn't afford an apartment. He slept on a thin mattress on the floor right next to his computer. He showered at the local gym. This is how a legend begins. Not in a palace, but on a dirty floor with a brain that refuses to sleep. The Odyssey had begun. Now, Elon wasn't alone. He had his brother, Kimball. They had one computer and one mission, to put the world on a digital map. They coded all day. They slept under their desks. They didn't have a life. They had a goal. And it worked. A big company bought their little Zip2 for over $300 million. Elon was 28, and he was already a king of leaves. But a king doesn't stop. He took his millions and bet them all on a new idea, X.com. He wanted to kill the old, slow banks. In the office across the street, another group of nerds had the same idea. They called it PayPal. It was a war. Every day was a battle for users. Eventually, they stopped fighting and joined forces. But every army can only have one general. Elon is a difficult man. He wants things done his way or no way. While he was finally taking a vacation, his first in years, his own team turned against him. They signed a paper to fire him while he was literally in the air. He landed as a CEO and walked out as just a guy with a lot of shares. It was a betrayal. It hurt. But remember, you can take a man's chair, but you can't take his brain. Then came the big day. eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion. Elon walked away with a mountain of cash. What does a young billionaire do? He buys the fastest car in the world, a McLaren F1, and then, because he is Elon, he crashes it. No insurance, total wreck. He laughed. Why? Because cars are just toys. He was already looking at the sky again. The earth was getting too small. Elon was rich, but he was bored. He went to the NASA website to see when we were going to Mars. He found nothing. No plan, no dates. So he did what any crazy billionaire would do. He started buying books on how to build rockets. He taught himself rocket science, because why not? He flew to Russia. He wanted to buy old ICBMs, giant rockets. The Russians looked at this young American with a backpack and laughed. They spat on his shoes. They told him to go home. On the flight back, Elon didn't cry. He took a napkin. He calculated the cost of materials: aluminum, lithium, carbon fiber. He realized he could build his own rocket for 10% of the price. "I'll build it myself," he said. SpaceX was born. Building a rocket is hard. Building a cheap one is almost impossible. The first launch, it blew up. The second, it reached space but never made it to orbit. The third, another giant ball of fire. People called him a fraud. His money was almost gone. He had enough for exactly one more try. If the fourth rocket failed, SpaceX would die. Elon was on the edge of a black hole. Imagine the pressure. Your friends think you're crazy. The experts laugh at you. Your bank account is screaming. But Elon is a gambler who only knows how to double down. He gathered his team and said, "We do it one more time." It was all or nothing. The fourth rocket. The fate of Mars was sitting on a launch pad in the middle of the ocean. 2008 was a nightmare. SpaceX had failed 3 times. Tesla, his electric car company, was bleeding money. Elon was broke. He had to borrow money from friends just to pay rent. He was going through a painful divorce. Every news headline said the same thing: Elon Musk is finished. He was juggling 2 companies that were about to explode, not in a good way. September 28th, the fourth rocket. If this one failed, it was over. The engines ignited. The world held its breath. And then it didn't blow up. It kept going. It reached the stars. A few weeks later, NASA called. They gave him $1.6 billion to carry their cargo. SpaceX was saved. The nerd from South Africa had just become the most important man in space. But there was no time to party. Tesla was still dying. Elon took his last remaining money and put it all into the company. He lived at the factory. He slept on the floor. He made the Model S, a car so good it made gasoline look like an ancient relic. Suddenly, being green was cool. Tesla's value skyrocketed, from a sleeping bag on a factory floor to the richest man on Earth. It's a story that sounds fake, but it's just physics. He won. He had all the money, all the fame. But Elon doesn't care about the scoreboard. He looked at his mountain of gold and thought, "Good, now I have enough to buy the tickets." Tickets to where? To the red dot in the sky. It was time to stop playing with cars and start building a bridge to the future. It was time for Mars. Now we are here, in the era of Starship. It's the biggest machine ever built by humans. Why? Because you can't move 1 million people in a small car. You need a giant stainless steel beast that can be refilled in space. Elon isn't building a rocket. He's building a bridge made of steel and fire that leads away from our lonely cradle. His plan is simple, yet insane. 1,000 ships. Every 2 years, when the planets align, they launch like a flock of birds. They carry doctors, engineers, and pizza chefs. Because if we are going to live on a cold, dead rock, we at least need good food. This isn't a scientific mission. It's a backup drive for humanity. It will be hard. It will be dangerous. Some won't come back. But over hundreds of years, we will melt the ice. My zastavim Mars deshat. It will turn from a red desert into a green garden. This is the ultimate level up for our species. We stop being a planet of tribes and start being a civilization of the stars. Elon Musk is not a saint. He is a man who obsessed over a single thought. What if we don't have to die here? He used his leaves, his cars, and his satellites to buy us a chance. Whether he's a genius or a madman doesn't matter. What matters is that for the first time in history, the door to the stars is open, and it's up to us to walk through it.